Niharika. Okay. Turn on your camera. Hmm? Okay. Explain me the architecture of Kubernetes. Okay. So tell me, what are the components which will run in the master node? What are the components which will run in the worker nodes? Hmm. In worker node? Okay. So what will kubelet will do? So what is the kube proxy will do? What will the kube proxy will do? Okay. Tell me the difference between replica set and replica controller. So tell me what do you mean by deployment? What do you mean by demons? This was stateful set. Yeah, what do you mean by stateful set here? Oh, yeah, Rohit, can you tell me what you mean by stateful set?
Stateful set is where we just let me turn on the video. Okay. Stateful set is where we save the data like databases. So in that we will have the whole data of the application.
What do you
And
mean by that? Why we need a stateful set?
because
Why can't we use database as a deployment?
because it has to be secure. No, we have to maintain the data with the database in the secret way, and
This is
it
not a
has to be
concept of secure. So
okay.
then your web application will not secure, huh? If
No,
you're
no,
hosted in
it will
deployment.
secure. Uh, so stateful set and stateless set. The data will be persistent in the stateful set. Even after even the pod goes down, we will retain the data. The data will be
So,
retained.
no, so that case you can use persistent volume.
Huh?
Then what is the use of stateful set? If you need a persistent volume, I mean persistent data, even if the pod goes crash, you
Mm.
can use PVC or persistent volume. You can attach and create a volume attached to your pod. Then your data will be like persistent, even the pod crash.
Mm.
Why exactly the database should be in a stateful set?
Yeah. It has to communicate with the other pods, right? With the network. The other pods has to fetch the data from the database, and they have to get the data and provide it to the end user.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No.
Not exactly aware of this, sir, completely.
Okay. Yeah, Sagar, can you explain why we need a stateful set?
Uh, yeah. So why means like because like see in our project like if I'm using the Postgres, that will be like so I will deploy it as an like stateful kind. So why is like so that will give the database like Postgres pod, it will be stable. So it will be the identical and persistence. Like it will that storage will ensure that like we have that data will be not be deleting. So that data will be secure. So whenever the pod will be deleted, so automatically one more pod will be generated. So on the time, specifically we need one cluster of and one we need to attach it to the new pod which is generating. So we use the PVC. So on the time, it will be very useful. Like it will be the consistent will be the stateful method. So it will give the order up like it will start up or like a shutdown. So which is like important for these kind of the database scenarios. So that's why we use like stateful method.
Okay, can you give me one example, like how exactly the stable identity, I mean, the stable network identity works? Why that
So
stateful set needs stable identity?
For example, see, if I am like, if I wanted to say about in my project, so I use stateful for the Postgres, because like, that why I need for the stable storage and the network identity. See, unlike like in the we know like in the deployment, so the parts will be like interchangeable. So and so that like we use statefulness. So here in the statefulness, so it will we ensure that like pod will be fixed for like, if I'm using Postgres, like Postgres 1 and like Postgres 2, 4, they will come with the order. So in this way, in my project, so I will deploy the Postgres as a stable. So and it will be having their persistence as their own value. So even like if the pod is deleted, again it will come up with a new pod. So it will be rescheduled, or we can make it as an so like basically database workloads. So based on this, like we can, whenever I wanted to manage the database, I can always get the database data, and we can make it a database backup through this. So it never delete the database. So for this particularly, I use stateful method.
Okay, so for example, I will tell you, okay, in a stateful set or in the database cluster. So each database cluster has its broker ID, okay,
Yeah.
shared owner, leader, correct, in the database cluster.
Yes,
So
sir.
if the pod names or address change, okay, the cluster may loses the track of member. For example, so you have created a one database using a stateful set, okay. If the pod dies, okay, suppose my pod name is mysql hyphen 0, that is the first part, okay. So I have attached the pvc in such a way that even if the pod goes dies, I mean pod goes down, okay, so we'll come up with a new pod with the same name, mysql is sql 01, so that the volume which is already whatever the data is stored in the mysql 0 which was went down, the same PVC will attach that existing new pod. Okay. So that's why we need a stable network. Even after the crash also, it will come up and we can't lose the data, any data. So that's why we'll go up to the stateful set. Suppose if I go with the deployment, so the pod name itself will be changed, the DNS will be changed, IP address will be changed, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So if I use deployment, so we can't track the data. I mean, we can lose all the data which we have stored in that pod. Okay. So that's why we are not going with the deployment. If you are going to create any database, we will go with the stateful set. Okay. Understood,
Okay.
Niharika?
Understood, sir.
Okay. So can you tell me how we are going to troubleshoot if the pod goes down or if the node goes down? So how we are going to troubleshoot, Niharika?
Okay.
In general way, you can tell me like parts, if it is parts is not running, so how you are going to troubleshoot if the node is not running, or like if due to apart from resource constraint, how you are going to troubleshoot? Yeah, can you tell me any types of issue you faced in while working in Kubernetes?
Image pull off will be coming under if the image name is given wrong in the manifest file.
Okay. Oh, image pullback error. Next.
Image pullback of error.
Next.
It may be the pending.
Okay.
If we upload the image to the Docker, the private registry, then we have to log in. If it is not logged in, then it will also throw an error. So we have to log in first, then we can pull the images from the login from the Docker private registry that within our account, organization account.
Okay. Image pull off, crash, back loop of error, and pending OMM kill.
Sometimes networking and DNS issues we may face. That pods could not reach the server.
Okay.
Even in the node selector, if that label and selector if not match, and the pod will be in the pending state.
Okay, that is also correct. So
And
can you tell
there
me
is one
like
more
that,
thing. When we confirm that just now we discussed, right, this one, this name like persistent value, like if we describe like one application to deploy like in the stateful set, if we didn't set up the PVC, then it will be in the pending state until we set up the PVC like value to match.
Okay. So can you tell me the same like for node issues?
Node issues will be the basic is the storage. If there is an issue with the node storage, then it will not work. The pod will not get started within that node.
Okay, resource constraint.
Resource constraint. Yeah, the node label will not in the intent toleration or affinity that the node label may not match. The name, the label that we have given, that is a bit different, and if that doesn't match, then it will fail again.
Okay, so like take a note like so your kubelet is not running in a worker node, okay? So then so like API server may lost the connection between your control plane, then it is not possible to communicate with the master node. That may be like you will get node unreachable. Okay. So control plane lost the contact with the node if your kubelet is crashed. So because the kubelet is also working as a pod, correct?
Yes.
Kubelet, kubeproxy, these are all predefined pods are by default, it will run as a pod in your Kubernetes cluster. So this may also goes down. We don't know because of your, if the resource is high or too many processor consuming the CPU, then this process also needs some memory or CPU, right, to run as a pod. If it is Kubernetes crash, your node cannot be reachable with the master node. So your some pods will not work. I mean, the pod will the node will not contact with your master node.
And by cloud providers, by default, they will have a health check, right? For this one, they will stop the node and refresh that one more.
If it is a self-hosted Kubernetes, then in EKS you will never ever get, in EKS or AKS you will never get this type of issue.
Then, but will COPS also will do the same, right? If the node goes down, it will directly.
No. Nodes probes is only for your pod. Okay, liveness, readiness, startup probe you will use for web application.
No, not probes. I asked the COPS or the not the Minikube. The COPS or KubeADAM. They will also do the health check, right? By default.
In AKS, sir? I didn't
not
say.
In AKS. Manual cluster that we create. The KubeADAM. The KubeADAM and the COPS tools.
No, I'm not sure, but usually in self-hosted, so we need to configure it, okay?
Okay.
Otherwise, because even though if it is health check means, so in self-hosted agent, how it will spin up another EC2 instance? We don't have that option.
We
In
have the
AKS, we
AWS.
have, in EKS, we have, suppose if I want to do vertical scaling, if the memory is reaches to this type, so in EKS, I can do it. Okay. 1 second.
Okay.
Bro, any resolved disk pressure on the node if the node is running out of disk space?
That in the beginning we told, right, bro? The resource constraints.
Yeah, but
Memory
that,
or disk. We have to scale it if that comes up.
no, we have option only for the scale up, right? Like we cannot even though we delete a few things, like automatically it will make a load in the higher memory.
Bro, we have to, but to troubleshoot it, you need the login, because if you create a cluster manually through kubeadm or kops, you need to SSH into it. By default, they will create the servers. The whole cluster is maintained by kops or kubeadm, and to create it, we need the SSH keys. We will not have it in the AWS accounts or Azure accounts. We will not able to see it. So we have to inject them first, and then we can SSH, and then we can scale up. Or we have to log into the cloud manually, and then we have to scale up. But that will be, the data will be lost from the kops, the kubeadm then.
Yeah, that's what I was about to
They
say.
will not able to maintain the state, because if we have created them through the code, right? Then if we after it, if we manually do
That was my concern about, like, I don't want to get data loss. So even though while we do scale up, no, like so we wanted to prevent the data. That was my question to this.
You can do it. No, you can directly get attach. Okay.
Yeah. Let me see it.
Okay. So in AKS, like there is an option called to spin up a new EC2 instance, okay, to add to the cluster. So in interview they may ask you, like, suppose the node goes down. So how are you going to troubleshoot? Okay, so first we will drain the node. I mean, we are removing the EC2 instance from the cluster. Okay, then whatever the parts which is running in that node will schedule in the another node. Okay, that is the drain. So we will remove from the cluster, and we will do the troubleshooting, like OMM killed, or some files may be missing, or misconfiguration of the EC2 instance. Everything we will check it. Then if it is everything is working fine, then we are attaching that node into the cluster again. So depending upon the resource availability, the parts will again schedule in that particular node. Okay.
And in the
we
case, the auto scaling is different, and this one is different, right? Completely, the node increase and.
See, horizontal means we are increasing only the parts. Okay. So horizontal means I have 8 GB of memory. Okay. In 8 GB, I'm not adding any extra memory. Okay. Suppose, for example, in my part, I have total of 8 GB of CPU, 8 core CPU in my worker node. Okay. I use only 5 millicore into my part. Okay. Now 5 millicore has been exhausted. Now I need to spin up with the existing memory. I'm not adding any extra CPU or extra memory into my cluster. The available resource I'm using it, I am scaling it, because I limited my part to use only 500 millicore or 1 GB of memory to that particular part. If it reaches that threshold, then I can scale to 2 parts, 3 parts, 4 parts, like that. Okay. That is called horizontal. In the vertical means we are adding extra EC2 into our cluster. So that is called vertical. Anyway, in AKS or EKS, we are not going to scale that much like vertical scaling, because anyway we will predict, right? So my application, these many are users will use my application. So we will go with M5 2x or M5 X large. Okay. Even though after hosting your application later 5 months or 6 months, if the user increases, then we can change the EC2 instance. Suppose if I am using M5X large, okay, so now the user becomes millions. Oh, now I want to change the EC2 instance
Instance
type.
state.
So then you can go and just change the EC2 instance. Okay,
Okay.
that is not a problem. So again, it is not easy to change the EC2 instance. Again, we need to stop it. Again, we need to
Downtime will
change
be
the EC2
yeah.
instance. So that will be tedious process. So what we will do, like we can create a new EC2 instance, attach the newly created with the desired EC2 type to our cluster, then remove the old EC2 instance and destroy it. So whatever the parts which is running in the old EC2 instance will schedule in the new one.
Okay.
Okay, so how you are going to take a backup of your cluster in self-hosted Kubernetes? How you are going to take a backup? Which component you are going to take a backup?
The manifest files and the volume that
Not a
we have.
manifest file.
No. The manifest file is just the pod information. Then we can take the backup of the volumes that we have attached it to the particular pods. So the data within the pods, every data will be there. So after creating the new pods, we can directly mount the volumes again there. Or if we have attached the cloud volumes, then we can directly remove the volume from that particular instance and add it to the new one.
Okay, volumes you will take it. I need parts, deployment, config map, secrets. So how are you going to take a backup?
Config map. Yeah, we can directly take the manifest files, right? For config map and the secrets, we can directly encode them again and we can directly inject them again, right?
Like yesterday,
So
as you told,
you
request
explained like you
ETC.
are only taking the volumes, okay? So volumes like you will take like whatever the data or logs we mounted to the persistent volume, you will take a backup. That is okay.
Okay.
So what about the deployment? So I don't know how many parts which is running. I don't know how many config maps, how many namespace, all the details where it will store exactly.
Sandeep, yesterday, as you told us, like we can get in etcd. So which all the objects will be stored there, no? Like deployments, config maps, secrets, and RBAC tools, everything. So we can take that backup as we can take that backup, no? Like etcd.
Yeah,
Like we
it
can
is
store.
only I'm telling, yeah.
Yeah, that we can take it like as a snapshot. We can store it somewhere. Can we do that?
You are going to take a snapshot.
Yeah.
In EKS, huh?
Yeah, in any case.
So you don't have access for masternode, right? So it will be completely managed by the Amazon. I will going to take a snapshot.
We can get the kubectl file and then we can SSH into it, right? We can get the kubectl file and the config file and then SSH into it, right? We'll have the information there in the.
So don't go with the EKS. Okay. So I am not. I am also not aware how the EKS they are going to take a backup. Okay. Even I need to check that one how they are going to take in a self-hosted. Okay. You have hosted like 3 worker nodes, 1 master node. Okay. You only hosted. Suppose I want to take a regularly backup. So how are you going to take it?
Regular backup, if we want to take it, then we can schedule a cron job within as a pod. Then we can run the volume backup and the manifest files backup.
Okay, manifest file anyway you will take it in a GitHub. I want a cluster state. How we are going to take the backup?
Cluster.
I want to know the parts. I want to know config maps.
Then if we just want the names of it, then we can directly get kubectl get all and then redirect it to the another file. We'll have the information there, just the list of them, all the services that available in that particular cluster.
Which one?
kubectl get all and redirect it to another file. We can get the names and the other services list of them, all namespaces, everything.
See, you need to take a backup of etcd. Okay.
And how do we log into it, sir? etcd server. How do we log into etcd? I don't know that one.
That's what like I told you, initially, like you forget about EKS. I am asking for the self-hosted agent.
Okay.
Self-hosted agent anyway, you would log into the master node, right?
Yes.
In the master node, you can take a backup of etcd. There is a file. Okay. So whenever I do kubectl, I apply f1f on the file name. Okay. That
Yeah.
file will be captured by the etcd. Correct. It's
Yeah.
like a file. So in that file, it will store. etcd is nothing but a key value pair. It is nothing but like a database only. So whatever the data you are storing for the cluster, that will be information will be stored in etcd. So you need to log into the master node and take, there is a folder called etcd, then you can take that backup, okay? If it is self-hosted. So anyway, in EKS, we are not going to manage the master node directly. So there is a backup strategy will be different. It is not normal like self-hosted agent, okay?
It should be provided by the cloud by
Yeah,
them.
cloud only. So, but we have different strategies to take a backup, because in some companies, even though if it is managed by AWS, okay, what if sometimes goes down? Okay, so that purpose they will take a backup. I don't know, like I will check it and let you know. Okay, so how
Okay.
in AKS or AKS how they are going to take a backup. But usually we do like updates. Okay, from 1.31 to 1.33. So now the version is 1.32. For one is some new updates came, right? Recently we updated. Okay, I done updated upgrading the one version to another version, but I never involved in the taking a backup. I will let you know. Okay, so how to take a backup.
Sir, in your organization,
Sir,
are
one.
you using EKS or self-hosted?
AKS. See,
Okay.
both EKS and AKS is
Okay, similar.
same.
The
Only
cloud
the name
provider
is
is different.
different. Here we are calling Azure Kubernetes Service. In AWS, they are calling Elastic Kubernetes Service. Okay.
Okay.
Same how AKS working is replica of EKS. Okay. Whatever the commands working here also work will there also. Like in some companies, they are using advanced concept called OpenShift. OpenShift also same commands we are using. Okay.
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 Sir, one doubt, like in the EKS, is the data will be stored in the EBS volume only, right? If we can create a snapshot and we can keep it as a backup, is that will work or something different here?
Only the data you are going to take a backup. I'm asking the cluster state. What about the cluster state? If you are taking the data, that is more than enough. Suppose in Jenkins, okay, you have created 100 jobs in your Jenkins, okay. You
Okay.
attach EBS volume, so whatever the data it will store, like in the Jenkins, it will get it by EBS. But what about how many jobs it is running, how many pipelines which is running? How you are going to know? You need to take a backup of var/lib/Jenkins, right? There only you will get the Jenkins configuration details, correct?
Yes, from default path we will get it.
Yeah, same way. If I want to know how many parts which is running, how many secrets, how many config map which I created in the cluster, if I want to take that backup, then definitely I need to take etcd. But volume means what? Volume means only data.
Data.
Data is nothing but like your maybe database data or the pod logs or pod events, you can capture it. But I can't, if you take a backup of persistent volume, so will I get how many pods which are running in the cluster?
No,
No.
you won't.
Definitely we need to take a backup of etcd, okay?
Okay, understood.
Okay. So you need to tell them like, so we need to take a backup of etcd. Like it will store all the cluster data like deployment, service, config map, secrets. Okay. If etcd is lost, the cluster loses its state. Okay. Then if you want your actual app like MySQL database or logs of your application, then I will take the backup of persistent volume. Suppose if you want to take a backup of your manifest file, then you need to take a backup of your YAML file. Okay, so you need to keep your YAML file in your GitHub or in any repo SCM tools. Then we can easily track it. Okay, so cluster details will be stored in etcd. Okay.
Okay. Sir, till now we were thinking of the nodes going down. What if the master only goes down in the cloud or in the
In the
manual?
cloud,
In the
that's what
cloud.
that's why Like in usually in the cloud, the master will never goes down because we are paying high money, right? So it
Yeah.
will be definitely it will not goes down. So even though if it is goes down, they are configured in a such a way that like multi master. Even if it is goes down, one is down. So from the AWS side, they are configured. If it is down, so immediately it will come up with a new master node. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
ಸೇಮ್ ವೇ ಸಿ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸೊ ಇನ್ ಎ ಡಬ್ಲ್ಯೂ ಎಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಹೆಂಗೆ ಡಾಕರ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಆನ್ ಟಾಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ರನ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಅವರ್ ಕಂಟೈನರ್ಸ್ ರೈಟ್ ಸೇಮ್ ವೇ ದೇ ಆರ್ ರನ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಕಂಟೈನರ್ ಇನ್ ಎ ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಓಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಈ ಸಿಟಿ ಕೊಡೋದು ಒಂದು ಕಂಟೈನರೇ ಅದು ಐದರ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ ಕಂಟೈನರ್ ಆರ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ ಪಾಡ್ ಬಟ್ ವಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಸ್ ಅನ್ EC2 ಇನ್ಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಒಂದು EC2 ಇನ್ಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹೌ ಮಚ್ ದ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಬೇರ್ ರೈಟ್. So what they will do, they will take one huge server, they will partition it using a pod or container. Okay, they are also using the Docker or container, anyone, because each time we are spinning up a new instance, they can't provide a hardware level server. Okay, they are giving you a like a Docker container. We call it as an EC2 instance. Okay, on top of we are installing a Docker and we are running our application. ಅವರು ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಅವರು ರನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಕಂಟೈನರ್ ಆಗಿ ಇನ್ ಯು GCP ಆಗಲಿ ಅಜೂರ್ ಆಗಲಿ. ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ ಸೊ ಕೆನ್ ಯು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ದ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ daemon set and the deployment?
Daemon set will run every pod in every nodes. Deployment will run only on the available nodes, which means it can, if we mention two pods or 3 pods, it may the master API may deploy 2 pods to one server and to another node, one to another node. But the daemon set ensures that it has to run every pod in every nodes individually, and we use the daemon set basically to collect logs and to monitor the logs of the nodes, like these situations.
Okay, can you know like types of deployment strategy in Kubernetes?
Deployment strategies. Okay, we take the replications, and then we can mention affinity in order to run the pods based on based on the project needs.
Which one?
The affinity we can mention based on the project. So if we have multiple nodes, we can run the pods on the desired nodes. Then
So my question is like how we are going to I only forgot the question. What was the question?
deployment
Types of
strategies.
Yeah,
deployment
types of deployment strategy like blue green deployment, rolling updates, canary deployment. Do you know what is
Okay.
that?
Yeah, rolling updates. I know. So if we directly deploy without any rolling updates, the whole cluster, the whole nodes goes down at a single time, so that it will have a more downtime. If we mention the rolling update as a percentage, one node will, just give me a second, sir. One node will get one node will deploy the first. If we have 2 nodes and if we mention 50%, then one node will be deployed and the other node will receive the network, will receive the request. Once it's up, then it will go for the other nodes. So rolling updates work like this. So it will reduce the downtime. Basically, was in which percentage we mentioned, it will update to the newer version in that way. And
Then what do you mean by blue green deployment?
blue green, no sir, I don't know blue green. I only
This topic
work
is not covered, huh?
No, not covered actually. I implemented only the rolling updates in while working. So
ಓಕೆ, ಇದು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾರೆ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಬ್ಲೂ ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ.
ಬ್ಲೂ ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್. ಅಂಡ್ ಕೆನರಿ ವಾಸ್ ಲಾಂಗ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್.
ಅದು ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಲೈಕ್ ದೇ
ಜಸ್ಟ್
ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ
ಇಂಟ್ರೋ ಒಂದು ಓವರ್ವ್ಯೂ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ನಾಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ly how it works.
Okay. So
Rolling update
usually,
use
so we
ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ.
are going with a rolling update only. Okay. So
Okay.
blue green, you should know blue green and the canary. Like blue green is nothing but like we will create a two identical environment. Okay. First one is old one, second one is new one. Okay. So whatever, suppose I have 5 parts. Okay. Now I want to update only 2 parts. Okay.
Okay.
So in the names, if you are going with, if you have that much of money, like if you want to create 2 EKS cluster, then that is also fine. Suppose you don't have that much of flexibility, if you want to go with, you can create a 2 namespace. Okay, one namespace is older for new, another namespace is for newer one. Okay.
Okay.
So like in 5 microservice, now I am updating only 2 microservice. Okay. So what I will do, 2 microservice I will deploy into the new namespace. Okay.
Okay.
Then existing old one I will keep it as it is. I will deploy to new easy namespace, and I will change the ingress rules. Okay. So whatever the new version or new updates of the microservice, I will route the traffic to updated one, and remaining traffic I will route the traffic to the old one. Okay. So that is the old one is blue, new one is green.
Okay, so we use both for you end users. Both are
Yeah. So
Okay.
once it is working fine, then we can switch our traffic normal as it is. Blue
partial.
green is nothing but old version will be keep it as a blue, new version is keep it as a green. Okay.
Partial will be gone to one partial users will be traffic to one the older one, and the partial will be routed to the other one, the new version.
Correct. The canary is also same. Like we are little bit like, I have 100 users. Okay, I will route 10% of users to newly updated one. We'll do thoroughly testing. If it is working, then we'll update remaining parts, and we'll route all the user to newly created parts. Okay, that is called canary.
Testing ತರ
Bit by bit. Yeah.
ಟೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆಮೇಲೆ ದೆನ್
ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಲೈವ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ನೀವು ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ,
ಓಕೆ
ಲೈವ್ ಯೂಸರ್ಸ್ ನೇ ರೌಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ.
ಓಕೆ ಬೀಟಾ ಟೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ತರ. ಓಕೆ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟುಡ್.
ಓಕೆ, can you Sagar?
Yes, Sandeep.
Yeah, what do you mean by pod affinity and pod anti-affinity?
Pod affinity and pod anti-affinity is like we use specifically example like pod affinity in the Kubernetes, like that will allow us to schedule the pod like to run on the same node. So as like other pods on based on the labels. So specifically we use when we want the pods to communicate frequently, like for the better performance, which is related to the each other. So for example, if I'm using like Rails application, so in that application, so what I do, I will schedule the same node as like if I'm using the backend as a backend for the Rails, and the front end application is the different. So then I will prefer to schedule on the same node as a backend pod also. So by this way, pod affinity will work. So in this, I can give in the operation. So like match expression, in match expression, the key will be the application. So in the operator, I will give in, and the values will be the backend. So by
What it
this,
will do?
yeah, I will tell. So by this, we ensure that the pods will be on the same node. So we set a rule like mandatory, like it is like a scheduling the rule. So specifically, if this matches, then it have to be go. So by like this, like prefer during the like scheduling rule basically. So the pod anti affinity is like, so it will ensure that like to avoiding being scheduled on the same node or like specific nodes. So basically we use this like avoiding the like single point, like if we wanted to distribute the replicas across all the nodes. So on the time we use like pod affinity. So in the database, like when I'm using the Postgres, so we wanted to separate. See, while I'm running the application, Rails application, so the Postgres need a specific node. So if it is not present, then the application may scratch, like because it depends on the backend too. So in this case, we use like in the label selector, like we use key as an application. So operators in and the values will be the DB. DB is nothing but like in the Postgres app. So this will we can ensure that it will prevent the downtime. If the node fails, also it will like prevent. So this is like the difference between the affinity and the anti-affinity.
Okay. You said like there is a spec affinity and anti-affinity. Okay, you have specified label selector key is equal to app and value is equal to web, correct?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
specified 3 replicas. Okay. In my cluster, there is only 2 nodes are available. What happens to the third part?
So no, even if the two are running and the third one is ignored also, so basically it will when I give yeah, as you mentioned the label. So if it is the true, so then automatically the pod will be I can increase the pod, so it will work as a continuous. It won't get any affected in this way. As you mentioned the scenario, it won't affect anything.
Okay, so it is not work like that. Like suppose if you have put it like a hard rules, correct? So
Yeah,
pod anti-affinity means it will not schedule this pod on the same node, like other node. Like you have put it a label called app is equal to web, right?
yes,
So
yes.
it will look for the pod where app is equal to web. So
Yeah.
suppose you written in a manifest like 3 replicas. Okay, if only the 2 nodes are available, though, so third pod will never schedule. Okay, it will always be in a pending state
Okay. Yeah.
because you put it a rules. Okay, it should run in a three different or 3 different worker nodes. Correct. So
Yeah, yeah,
only
that's
two
right.
worker nodes are available. So the third part will never ever schedule in that um, like in the 2 nodes because it will look for another third node, but third node is not available. So it will be always in the pending state. Okay.
Okay, okay. So now, like, if you're running replicas of any web app, so then we know, like, we want all the replicas on the same node. So instead of like we
Then you
spread,
can use pod affinity. Anti-affinity means
yes,
it
yes,
should not schedule.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
pod
got it.
affinity means it should schedule on the same node, like wherever the or matching the labels. Okay.
Mm,
Affinity means the pod where exactly one pod is running. There only this pod also you can execute or you may run. Anti-affinity means you should not run that pod on the same node where
mm,
the label is equal to whatever you have given, key is equal to value. Okay.
yes, yes.
ಇದು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದಾರಾ in the class ಈ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ?
That's on the pod affinity and affinity ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
He
They
explained, sir.
explained each line, right? How to write a manifest, how exactly it will works. ಹೇಳಿದಾರಾ?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. ಅದು
Yes.
based on zone
In
level.
the affinity, we have preferred and required also. Sorry, depending on that, it will parts will deploy.
Yeah, I know. Like, is this covered in the class? I'm asking.
Yes, he
Yes, yes,
covered.
yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Amrita?
Yes, Sandeep.
So, can you tell me, like, when you are going to use EKS and when you are going to use ECS?
So whatever the contain Docker images, so we have done. So that one to pull, we will use ECR. So container registry.
My question is not on ECR, ECS, Elastic Container Service, Elastic Kubernetes Service. So when you are going to use ECS, when you are going to use Docker, when you are going to use Kubernetes?
Like EKS means so when we wanted to create a cluster and we wanted to deploy our pods in a cloud, so that time we'll use EKS.
So same
EC,
thing also we can do it in a cluster. What is the advantage of using the Docker or ECS, EKS? So when you are going to choose EKS, when you are going to choose Docker,
so Docker means like when we wanted to containerized application we want, then we wanted to no need to use for the particular OS. It will be not required, like a host OS only we are using that time. And so we are the application should be fast and it should be lightweight. That time we'll be going with a Docker container. But EKS, like so EKS we are going with cloud because the cloud will be taking care of all the backups and it will be so the backup things and uh, for that purpose we'll be going for EKS. And ECS, right?
ECS, Docker, Kubernetes.
um, ECS I'm not aware actually. It's a service.
Hmm?
Mm,
ECS, right?
Yes.
ECS is Elastic Container Service. We directly deploy rather than using the Kubernetes service. We directly go with the Docker within the provided by AWS. We'll deploy the whole application in the Docker itself.
When? On what
Only
time,
for
which time you are going to use Docker?
so we have multiple needs. So one is for testing purpose. If the application itself is small, and if you want to use it for if you want to use it before, if you want to test it before going live, we can directly go with the ECS. Then monolithic services, if you want to just deploy without microservices, then we can directly use ECS. If it's a static website, we can directly use S3 or the ECS, the manual way. If it's monolithic, then there is no need of microservices, right? Then EKS is not required for that much of the cluster is not required. So then we can directly deploy within the ECS. And yeah, before going for the EKS, we can directly test the application within using ECS. Then we can directly deploy all of it within the EKS for live productions. If the application itself is small, then we can go with ECS. These three necessary needs we can use.
Okay, so like whenever you are using a Docker, right? Like Docker is a small application. Okay, if you're using small application, if you don't want to scale depending upon user request or CPU or memory, then there's an option in Docker also. Like we can use Docker Swarm. Suppose if you want to spin up a multiple Docker containers, then we can go with a Docker Compose. But we will not get additional features like additional suppose like
Ingress.
complex networking. Suppose if I want to restrict the user to access some particular namespace, we will not get these features in a Docker, correct? So
Yeah.
we have, if your application is very simple, then we can go with a Docker. If you don't need any orchestration, if you know how many users are going to use your application, think like I'm going, this application may use only the 100 members. Apart from 100 members, no other user will come to use our application. This is decided, right? Only 100 members is coming. So no need of orchestration. Then we can use Docker. Okay. Suppose like when you are going to use ECS, so like you need integration of AWS services like IAM,
ECR.
ALB, CloudWatch, Secret Manager, or like e-commerce API. So like there is a front-end application. If you want to communicate with your containerization microservice, like I developed some Python API service. I want to make sure it should be available at any time because this will be taken care by the AWS, right?
Yeah.
So it will never ever come down. So it will automatically scale. It's like a pay as you go. If you pay like depending upon the service, so it will do the auto scaling also. So on that time, so you can go with the ECS. Suppose if your application is too large, like have 15 microservices need to be maintained, so then definitely I will go with the EKS, correct? So every time I can't keep on a track like which pod is running, which pod is not running. I can't track it, right? So this will be taken care by the Kubernetes. On that time, I will go with the EKS. Okay. And also like there is multiple features will be there. Service mesh we have, custom controllers we have, additional scheduling, like if I want to schedule anti-affinity, pod affinity, we have multiple features, right? By using the EKS.
And the master API will have the data of the nodes, right? And even it will spin up the nodes
Which
if
one?
required in the EKS. The
Yeah,
master
in the
API.
EKS, if you are going with cloud-based EKS, then definitely we have vertical scaling also.
Yeah.
Then the other will be cost is more. Okay. If you want to scale, definitely they will charge you more on the auto scaling, vertical auto scaling. So what we'll do, like that's why while choosing the EC2 instance like worker node, we will go with a higher EC2 instance. Okay. Then we will do the scaling horizontally. Okay. So suppose in my worker node I will choose 16 core CPU. We are using only 8 core. So remaining 8 core will be like a buffer. We can do scaling depending upon the request. Okay.
And in ECS, we have to pull the image to ECR itself. Then only we can pull it to the ECS. It will
It is
not.
not like that. Like it will allow you to download from the Docker registry also. It is not
I
mandatory to use. Is it
no.
only the image from the ECR?
I think the project that I worked on, it only allowed me to pull it from the ECR.
No, no,
Not
no.
allowed.
But definitely it is not restricted. Okay. Then no one is going to use. Suppose I am going to use private registry. If I want to ECS, then definitely it is not flexible, right? If you are only stick to the one
Yeah,
Microsoft.
I thought it, but let me see.
But in EKS, we have in Azure, like there is a same function, like there is a same feature like function app. Okay, it works as the same as a Lambda. Like there also you can run it as an packaged code, or you can run it as a Docker image. Two ways we can run it. You need to zip your source code, okay, and you need to write a command, and you need to download, you need to upload to that function app. So function will work as an EC2 instance, like same as a Lambda. Okay, so I will show you like mm, so I will call in the weekends. Okay, like batch wise you can come down. Like if I share my screen, I will get a email notification. Okay, so from last week I got a notification, so I can't share the screen. Okay, so in the next week I will ask you to come in the weekend, so I will show you the entire project, like CI/CD, how we are going. So each tool, what is the purpose? Okay, Terraform, we need to bring up the infra, like Kubernetes, we need to host our application. Azure or Jenkins, why we need Jenkins to do CI/CD? SCM, what is the use of importance of SCM? In SCM, what exactly the DevOps engineer will do? Okay, those things I will show you. Okay, so at least you will get a clear idea. So how that end-to-end application will work. In our application, like we are not using any Terraform here. So in another project we are using, so I will show that like how we are going to pass the values in the Helm charts, how to deploy using the Argo CD, and how to implement a Terraform code through Jenkins. I will show that one. Okay. Hmm?
Yes.
So service mesh ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲಲ್ವಾ? What do you mean by service mesh? What is the advantage of using service mesh? ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ?
No,
It
no,
is not
No, Sandeep.
covered, but
Okay, CNI networking of Kubernetes.
networking is
CLI told, yes.
networking, yeah, covered, sir.
So roles binding service account is already covered, correct?
uh,
Roles binding and roles are not covered, sir. We have to.
just what are all the types we have that he has explained. Means why we will use the role binding and that things he explained. But in deep he told he will explain.
Okay. I will ask him to explain again, okay? So and I will also show like when you come down here, like I will show like what is you mean by role, why we need that. Okay. So role is nothing but permission. Okay. Role binding means which account or which service you are going to, which namespace we are going to add this role. Okay. So policy, think like role is like a policy. Role binding is nothing but a user. Okay. You return a policy, you need to attach that policy to the particular user, right? Then only it will work.
It- means
Yeah, that's what that's what I'm explaining. IAM user is nothing but a role binding.
binding. Okay.
Okay, role is nothing but a policy. Policy means what we will return. We return a permission, right, for the user. So whether the user need to access EC2 instance or S3 bucket or any resources in AWS, right? So same thing we will write in a role, and that role will be bind to some particular namespace. So that is called role binding.
And
Okay.
The cluster role
cluster
binding.
roles, huh?
A
Cluster
cluster
role
role
and
means, so who are going to access this cluster?
The whole
All the
cluster.
details will be,
Whole
the cluster
cluster.
role is different, namespace role is different, okay, and service account is different. Okay. If it is not covered, I will ask him to cover once again. Okay, you can just listen like how it works. So I will show you a demo in here, okay, because I think Sandeep don't have that account in his laptop. I will show you once he come down to here, okay. At least listen how it works. So I will explain how to write that roles, how to implement in your now current namespace. I will show that.
Okay, sir, sure.
Sandeep, like if you share like a few more questions, so we can get prepared of those questions because see something ಇವತ್ತು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ಲೈಕ್ ಬ್ಲೂ ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಸೊ ಆ ತರ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ ನಮಗೆ ನ್ಯೂ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಸೊ ನಾವು ಅವಾಗ ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡಿ ನಾವು ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು ಸೊ ಡೈಲಿ ಅಟ್ ದ ಎಂಡ್ ಆಫ್
This blue, green, canary, and rolling update, whatever we follow in Lambda, same thing is for everywhere, right? Actually, during AWS, Vicky has told these concepts, but we are not we are not confirmed like in everywhere the same thing will work like blue, green, canary, everywhere everything will work on
Strategies
same.
can be used in like Kubernetes or the Docker itself. She's asking, is it universal or?
No, it is only in the Kubernetes, okay. See, in Docker, we don't have like this rolling update or canary. Okay?
Not in Docker. Lambda, he was explaining that things.
Lambda, no?
During
Lambda API request matra barudalva.
He was explained during AWS Lambda. This strategies like blue, green, and canary.
Maybe deployment strategy ಹೇಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ maybe some random ಆಗಿ ಹೇಳಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನ particular ಆಗಿ.
See, blue, green, and canary will comes under only in the Kubernetes, okay?
Okay.
It will not comes in the Lambda. Lambda is similar like function app in Azure. Okay. ಅದು ನಿಮಗೆ one by one rolling ಆಗಲ್ಲ. If you are going with the Lambda, suppose if I want to deploy through my CI/CD, definitely it will take some time. It is not like one by one ಇದಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಇದು Lambda, ಓಕೆನಾ? Hello.
Okay sir. Lambda triggers ಅಷ್ಟಲ್ಲ Lambda ಅಂದ್ರೆ.
Yeah, Lambda will not work as your Kubernetes pods. It is something different, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So okay, ಇದು ನಾನು ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದೀನಿ ನೋಡಿ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಅದನ್ನ.
ನಿಮಿಷ. ಓಕೆ ಸರ್ ಶೋ.
ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕೇಳಿ. ಇಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಡೈಲಿ ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದ ಈ ಶನಿವಾರ ಇಲ್ಲ ತೋರಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬನ್ನಿ ಯಾರ್ಯಾರು ಆಗುತ್ತೋ ಈ ಸ್ಯಾಟರ್ಡೆ ಒಂದು 5 members 6 members ಸ್ಯಾಟರ್ಡೆ ಸಂಡೇ ತೋರಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಓಕೆ
ಸರ್ ನೀವೇ ಒಂದು ಬ್ಯಾಚ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಸರ್, ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಅವಾಗ ಬರಕ್ಕೆ ಈಸಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಕ್ಲಾಶ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ.
ಓಕೆ, ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಡು ದ ಬ್ಯಾಚ್. ಓಕೆ, ನೋ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್.
ನೀವು ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು ಡೇಟ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಟೈಮ್ ಹೇಳಿ.
ಬಟ್ ಅದೇ ಈ ಸ್ಯಾಟರ್ಡೆ ಸಂಡೇ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಫ್ರೀ ಆಗಿರಿ, ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಟೈಮ್ಗೆ.
ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್, ನಾವು ಟೈಮ್ ಬರ್ತೀವಿ.
ಓಕೆ
ಓಕೆ ಸರ್ ಶೋ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಗೈಸ್. ಅದು ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಅದು ಇಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಫಾರ್ Kubernetes. In this includes AWS, Git, everything I have added. Some more questions also there, like I will add it. Okay.
Okay sir, sure.
ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಡೋಂಟ್ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳಕ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡಿ, ನೀವು ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದು ಮಾಡಬೇಡಿ. ಸೊ ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಗಿವ್ ಯು ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ಸ್, ಹೌ ಟು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್, ಹೌ ಟು ಎಂಡ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಇಂದ ಎಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಾನು ಆಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ.
ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ ಸರ್, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಓಕೆ, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್, ಬಾಯ್.